You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Mad Men After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Mad Men After Show.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Bing is for doing, and we are doing another AFTERBUZZ TV podcast, Mad Men, Season 5, Episode 6, At the Codfish Ball. I'm your host, John Comerford. I'm joined in the studio by Keven Undergaro.
Hello.
Josh Gardner.
How's it going?
And producing over there at the booth is Phil Svitek.
Welcome, welcome.
All right, today, great episode ahead. We saw, let's see, Megan has a baked bean breakthrough. We got Sally seeing more than she bargained for. We got Peggy getting a proposal of sorts, and of course the in-laws came to town. So
I mean, just loaded,
layered and loaded,
and just the genius of these guys, and some of the connections. And you know, the one thing I'm always looking for, you know, John, we work here, is the symbolism
and the
subtext, and particularly the production design. Mm-hmm. And the two things that struck me in this was the color red. And you see the red at the very beginning with Sally. Yeah. You see the red book Emil is reading. Mm-hmm. Then you see the red door in his apartment. Yeah. In Dawn's apartment. Yeah. When they're fighting, that door's closed. There's a red drink. When the Shirley Temple, when Roger's with his first wife, she's, you know, and the
Shirley Temple at the end.
Shirley Temple at the end. The red dress at dinner that worn by Peggy when she has her dinner, and then you see a red dress worn by Megan, and Megan with the red lipstick, and all through the episode. And I was wondering, well, I think my opinion is that it symbolized both love, or you know, what is love to these people, or a more
what love is? Before we fully go on,
stop. I'm gonna not on this show, Phil. No, you can't. It's not what they're gonna want to hear.
All right.
What is love?
How about? Well, I was gonna say this. How about showing us a little bit of love by going to iTunes real fast and commenting and rating on iTunes about what we do, and also real fast. Catherine Tulich is not here tonight. We were supposed to have an interview that she did with Allison. And we're not going to do it this week because she's not here. We'll do it next week when she returns.
And she's exercising, her power over us as a female, like the show.
Yes,
exactly. She's emasculating us. Yes. We need to turn the tide.
Real quick, speaking of rating and
iTunes, don't.
Ellen Butler sent us something last week regarding the Howard Johnson thing. She sent us a link to the photos for the Howard Johnsons that was probably filmed for the episode. So thank you to her for giving us comments and ratings.
That's awesome.
Yeah, please. You know, we don't ask for much, but if you can rate us. Continue to rate us on iTunes. You guys have been great. Mm-hmm. Leave your comments, and definitely tell friends about us. You know, we need the help. I mean, people want us to do more shows. We do, I don't know, almost 40 a week, which is astounding. And we actually, the many times if we ever get a low rating, it's because why aren't you doing Homeland? Why aren't you doing
what we're not doing?
Ice Road Truckers, whatever. And we want to. It's just.
We need more people, we need more funds, we need...
Right, and all of this helps, believe me.
Okay, so what is love represented then?
So I think that's part of it.
Yes.
It's passion, relationships, love, whatnot. And then it just hit me as I was doing my notes. It's also communism. Right?
Well, there you go. And Emil being the communist
socialist,
Maoist, whatever.
And again, just, I mean, how talented are you as a writer or a creator Whether this is Matt Weiner, whether this is the director, the writer, I don't know. I tend to think it's the leader of the show that drives this, that demands this.
Yeah, I would imagine that. Well, they steep all of it into not only the time, because you got the Red Scare, all that kind of stuff, 50s, 60s, that kind of thing. So I'm sure they're layering.
And by the way, you saw the look from Don, who's even on LSD, and I mean Roger, in the old guard when he says he's a communist. I was like, what? Like you saw him get really serious.
And then Don's even very vague. He said a communist, socialist,
socialist, all
whatever.
It's all the same thing.
We don't even know anymore.
He doesn't like me because I'm rich.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And the second thing that I noticed that resonated throughout the episode was eating and food and dinner.
Right, that was a big theme.
It was all through it. Lots of quotes in here about.
It was all around meals and food.
Just when they're munching on Chinese food, the boyfriend says, I didn't get enough for dinner, and then, when they have the meeting with Heinz, it's, oh no, we don't want dessert, I think you should have it, and when the mother, Peggy's mom comes in, she brings a cake and says it's very delicate, leave it in the box.
Yeah.
Which and then of course
and then she says, I need my cake.
Right.
Because I'm not going to let you celebrate with my cake.
And by the way, is it not just a thing on getting your cake and eat it too?
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not going to get your cake and eat it too.
I mean, that's exactly what, and that's what they think of living together.
And of course the fish, which we'll talk about.
Yeah. And then the whole thing of the spaghetti, all that.
So those are just general notes, but it's
to go along with your red theme too. I'm constantly amazed on how the show as a whole. Every little detail supports the writing for the show, and not to mention that, like, this is one of the few shows I noticed that during mid-season. I mean, we're in episode 6 out of 12 or 13. You reach a median in the season in their journey of the show, and this episode, I mean, all the references with Red, all that, and the even the music, you have this sense of turmoil, which is the whole theme of the episode.
Yeah.
That last shot sums it up perfectly, of the parents and Megan and Dawn and Sally, all of them sitting together looking just miserable.
Yeah, and they're not connecting at all.
And like the line with the father to Megan saying, you like this ending, and she's saying it's just the beginning, where, the closing of Heinz, of the Heinz client, you have this door of possibilities for the next step, and really it's this awesome median of the season, this great middle episode.
For it to happen in the middle, and the other color that you see is blacks. Just so I want to throw that in there.
Sure.
Yes. All the guys are wearing blacks. The boyfriend, when he's having Chinese food, he's in black. Dawn's in black with the black. So I'm seeing like it was mainly the guys in their black. So Phil, say what you're gonna say though.
Well, I was gonna say this. John, you guys probably know, and Kevin too, you're a history major, about communism. But just in general, the way it was kind of explained to me, especially, was all right, communism, it's a great kind of utopia, but there's no real step of how to fully get to what it was supposed to be. It was never really a full communist society. And so, in taking these next steps, especially for Megan, like, okay, you have an ultimate goal, but how do you get there? Peggy, she wants marriage. All right, but how do I get there? Well, I guess in this case, it's I have to move in with him first, and all these different things.
Okay, there you go.
Well, should we start talking about in-laws?
Oh, yeah.
Or as a friend from home says, outlaws. Because it's all through this episode, starting with grandmother-in-law, a.k.a. Bluto.
Yeah, carrying her little... Well, of course, Sally's on the phone with, I can't remember the gentleman, little young man's name. Bishop. And she's taking that, which was classic.
And by the way, again, I saw the preview. I said, okay, he's going to be bigger, older.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the way kids all spring up in a year.
Yeah.
And so we see much more mature.
And it was great because, I'm old enough to remember. It was before my time, but I'm old enough to remember having the one phone in the house that had the really long cord.
Oh, we all
had to stretch to the, So I just like that they nodded to that. And that not only did they use it, but they used it to trip up Grandma.
Now, what do you make of the fact? Now, obviously, her and Bishop have been in touch. They're very close.
Yeah, they had been talking.
We continue to see Sally grow up, almost some sexual tension. We just see so much going on. And I don't want to. We're gonna probably talk about her later.
We will.
But as far as her, I guess we'll talk about it later. I want to talk about why they had her actually be able to come through and take care of the grandmother. But with the ice and everything else.
For me, that just all stemmed to get them to the house. got to get the kids.
I think yes. On the exterior,
sure,
I think the subtext of it is being the doting. Being, is she going to be the doting wife?
Right.
Partner. Look how she is with Roger at the dinner.
Yeah, and growing. Look how she's growing up.
Is she trying to act older than her age?
That's what I think we're seeing a progression there.
Being the troublesome child of a broken home, like that kind of style.
But she was grown up enough to know elevate the leg, put ice on it,
and keep her calm.
Keep her calm. It's like, wow, she's growing up. Then when we see her in the outfit, oh, she really is growing. Oh no, not too fast. Take the makeup
and down in the boots. Still looks cute.
And you have that great line from Don where it's like, yep, take the makeup off and the boots, and we can go.
And he says, what makes me happy is a young girl who will soon be wearing makeup, but not tonight.
Because you rarely see him act. So much like a father with his own kids. I mean, we really haven't seen much of the kids since.
But he
first
was
and second episodes.
Very much like a father then. And then here she is in her grown-up outfit at the grown-ups table, and in my estimation, she's eschewing children's food like spaghetti and eating the fish.
Well, I was saying I grabbed all you guys because when she was at Megan and Don's, the little brother said she doesn't like fish, so they made her spaghetti. And then you see this fish that
full-on fish
really
with
was
a fish head. It's not even a fillet. It's the whole fish.
By the way, I never got fish.
Yeah.
I never got or lobster. Like, really, why don't you just put a dead squirrel looking up at me, staring at me, and I'll just eat it? Like, how do you eat something that and so anyway, it couldn't be any more unappealing. Not only that, which I think was purposely done.
Yeah, because you get
the fish head and the eyes and everything. She takes the nibble because I feel as though she was trying that hard to fit in. Like, and I'm
exactly agree.
And no childish icky face.
Yeah, she's
very proper with
she was doing the whole very grown up, but then oh no, not so grown up because she was not ready to see what she saw.
No.
Well, there's where we see God spit up. So,
especially after the playful banter she has with Roger.
Well, we're gonna go over the awards dinner. I know later in the show. But so for the in-laws, who do we start with? Megan or Peggy?
I think you start with Emil. I mean, as soon as that guy came, it's just like, oh my god,
goddamn frog. I was, and again, I'm the lowlife on this show. I'm not as smart as you guys. I'm just like effing Frenchy, like typical, like really.
He's French Canadian and a Maoist or whatever. He's like, how many things?
A scholar,
yeah, and a scholar, exactly. So not what Don is in his. Although I think Don respects it in some degree. I mean, they seem to anyway.
Well, I thought we were headed for a good episode because he's carrying the stuff and it's like I see you brought your work. So to Don, I feel like that would be like, oh, okay, we're on the same page. You and I, F these women, we're going to work.
Yeah.
And clearly not the case.
Well, but they made a big stink about him carrying up the bags. Like that's beneath you or something like that. What was the deal?
Oh no, I don't think he said it was beneath him. He's like, I think he's basically saying, I'm surprised, Mr. Capitalist Pig, who takes advantage of others.
You wouldn't just.
That's what I think. And then
that's what I mean.
And like he had that quote again, genius quote. When he looked at the decor, and he looked at it, and he said, "Eyes in politics are having a fight."
Yep.
So talking about the conflict that's going on within Don, I mean, to him that's what it was. Like, okay, you're carrying the bags, and you're pretending you're one of the guys, you're one of us, you're the working class.
And he says that the house was exquisitely decadent.
Yes.
So he was having a hard time with his communist thing. It's like, which I thought was great later on. As we talk about the awards dinner when he's talking to Megan too there, which was great. He had some other good lines.
I love the dinner at the house still, where he started asking how much do you pay for rent, and it's like, no, we bought the house, and it's always about money.
Yeah.
Yep. And in the dig at the wife when, she specified what kind of drink she wanted, and he said, "Oh, don't be fooled by me. She's not particular." And when he said that, I knew the wife was going to bang somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
She was definitely going to
I'm proof of that. Yeah.
But, he says by the way,
very French.
Very French.
Yeah.
Big time womanizers.
Yeah. Very.
Sorry
very
to tell you that.
Yeah.
But,
and that was the day too. That was of the time. So, but I really because I when you first get in there and they're having the dinner and it's that awkwardness of how many, I don't know, you guys aren't, but I've been with the in-laws and on many
outlaws.
Excuse me. And it can be extreme, especially in the beginning, extremely awkward and uncomfortable and all that stuff. And I thought they captured that very accurately.
Yeah. and it was interesting to see Don be such a good sport because
he was.
We're used to seeing him be in the position of power and be just over it,
right,
and fall in line. And
but he gave deference to the dad and stuff like that. He was careful and cautious, so it was kind of interesting. So, but we also had not only did Megan's family come into town, but we also had Peggy.
One last thing about that. I just want to add also, you know, the father of Megan's father, he seemed to represent aspiration a lot too, because that one of the things that I will give Don credit for was the fact that he introduced him. Hey, this is a doctor, and you know that's someone who after a certain amount of time it's their right, it's their title, and so he's kind of bestowing that upon Sally, and then certainly that's what he's kind of preaching to when the dad has his talk with Megan in French and English.
Here's where I actually did respect the father. The father was watching, Emil was watching, and Megan was watching Dawn interact with Sally. And at the end, it seems like he's coming off as disrespectful. It seems like he's coming off as this, you know, extreme communist who's just over everything and likes nothing. But he actually does become a dad for me in that moment.
He's talking to Megan.
And he's talking to Megan, and he says to her, "Great, but you didn't do what you wanted. You know." And I take that as you wanted to be an actress.
Yeah,
that's what you wanted. And so let's cut all the BS aside about being a communist and what you're supposed to be in life and all this hoo-ah. But let's taking that away, the love for a father to a daughter. You know,
because he's and all along we've learned I'm his favorite. This is what Megan's saying. Megan's his favorite, and that's why Mom competes with Megan. All that other stuff. We all saw.
And by the way,
dynamic played out very interestingly.
John, it just I hear some laundry about your life because I think you'd like that. For
what's
me
that?
No, you wouldn't like that.
No,
I just know your dad. You know, John's a very humble guy. John's one of the smartest people we know, and could have gone to Harvard, could have gone to Stanford, and you had other aspirations.
I did.
But I've always felt like when you told me stories about your dad, he didn't verbalize it the right way, but his frustration came from the fact that he saw you as someone who was supposed to be Bill Clinton.
Yes.
And so but it was based on that, and you're not the only one that I've seen this. I've seen it with. My old boss, I know his daughter was very successful, probably made a couple $100,000 a year, and I was like, wow, you know, and to me, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's a ton of money, and I was like, wow, you must be so proud, and it was like, no, not at all, because she should have made millions. She married a drip who held her back, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've seen that, I get it.
Yeah.
But here's the irony, and speaking, you know, you're speaking about John, and you could be speaking about Don. You're not in a bad position. But you know what I mean? Megan's job is not a bad job. It's not like you know, someone drinking and they drunk their life away. You know what I mean?
It's not.
And so that's the weird part about it.
It's not. But you know, Phil, where I come from,
I
hate waste. I see even if I see it in sport, I'd like to think I'm such a passionate person. But if it's an athlete I don't know, and I see them mailing in, or they don't have the career they should have, it's so frustrating because you guys.
But to fight that back, I mean, you know, we'll talk about more with Heinz and Megan. You know, you could say that, you know what, she's not an actress, but at the end of the day, she's utilizing her full potential for something else.
So I'm not a sitcom writer, but what do I write beauty books for Maria. So, and I do them very well. What? Who said that? What?
All right.
So, hello. Anyway.
Yeah, but I thought it was interesting, too, because Dad also said the wealth that you've been given because of him is bad for your soul, so which is not a communist...
That's what I'm saying. I think he dropped all that because most of that stuff is crap, and especially from professors.
Right.
You're not out in the world.
You're
not working. Right. You know, you're like
easy
you're
to pontificate from on high.
Really.
Exactly.
So it was nice where he just became a dad, and what he was.
But there's two things going on there because it's his aspirations for her because of he has grand illusions for his daughter who he thinks the world of, and then she has her own about, well, no, but this is my life, and that you've also raised me to have a brain and free will. It's my choice to live the life I want to lead, not the one that you think I should lead. So those are two different things.
Or how about just like Phil said, how about give me some props for what I did do? And by the way, so now just I'll bring it on to myself. You know, my mom is just like, wait, what are you doing? Okay, I see that you've done, you've written a book and you started AfterBuzz for Maria. Maria. That's great. What have you done? And all I'd like to hear is like, hey, wow, that's great.
That's
AfterBuzz
amazing.
is great.
Exactly.
This book is amazing. Your movies,
and you know what? I think
want to hear the end of that.
There's a very nice thing about it where Pete's talking with the father, and Pete shows him what he does, and that is in fact exactly what you're talking about. That kind of like you're doing a good job type of thing.
And by the way, and I'm glad you brought that up, Phil. Props to Pete.
Yeah,
he was amazing.
One line.
He totally baited him and he hooked him, and then the father was kind of like touche.
Yeah, you got me.
And so it showed that Pete's really,
he's very
he bounced back from
very
what we've seen him go through.
Yeah.
But yeah, all those guys are such a contradiction.
Yeah.
In my experience. But
yeah. So anything more on your mom?
No, it's you just would like to hear like, but wait, like you know, our network gets 700,000-800,000 now downloads a week in less than a year. Like
and
really, and it's just
what have you done?
But you should be doing
and that's exactly and Megan was in the same thing
on a sitcom, or you should be writing a sitcom, or you should be making your movies or whatever. So I get it, and it's universal, and I guess I see where the father came from, and I liked how he did just become a dad.
I did like that. But I also liked her too, being the quote self-actualized daughter, in a sense that she's saying, yeah, but I am doing something.
I am doing something, but at the end, she was like, because believe me, when my mom's done with me, she's done with me. I'm like, because I react just like Megan, where I'm like, but I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm enjoying my life. And at the end, I go, maybe.
I also felt too, he really tried to cut deep with her, because when he started off the conversation, he almost asked her what her real motives were. Like the way he asked it was just like, are you really doing this? Like, why are you with, almost like, why are you with Don, really? And then that turned into almost the, he wants you to do what you wanted to do originally.
And I think Maria's, I look at my own girlfriend, and I know her dad thinks, again, she's supposed to be where she's at now.
Right.
And I think if she'd ended up with somebody that put her in a kitchen or whatever, he'd be the same way. I mean, there's just a couple of those kids that are expected.
Right.
And when they fall short, and especially if it's a partner that's involved, it's, really, and it's upsetting.
Yeah.
So
right,
anyway,
so let's move on to Peggy bringing mom to town.
How about some capitalist pigs like we are? Can we talk about that real fast?
Sure. All right.
Yes.
Speaking of capitalism, you want to talk about capitalism?
Capitalist pig. Pui.
Yeah, that was communism. Since we live in a capitalistic society, we shop, we buy things, and if you're going to buy things, you usually do it online. And if you do it online, you're going to do it at Amazon. So, if you'll notice at the AfterBuzzTV.com site, you'll find a little button. What's it called? Amazon. It's just Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's an Amazon banner.
So if you're going to buy at Amazon anyway, come to our site first, AfterBuzzTV.com, click on the Amazon button, and then buy. That way, you'll buy what you've always wanted, but Amazon will be nice to us and give us a little kickback.
And you can buy us what we need, which is a noiseless air conditioner.
Yes, that would be nice. That would be nice. Well, you know what? It costs you nothing, and in this case, we are pretty much the communists and the socialists at AfterBuzz.
That's right, we are.
Because we charge nothing. We give you all this free stuff. It's this effing hippie place with like 200 O's. It's just like everyone just loves each other and supports each other.
Hey,
and they don't know, like, someone's writing it's costing somebody money.
Yeah, that's right.
Me.
But it's not you. But, it's not the listener.
But and at some point, I think we have to become capitalist.
So anyway, this helps us. This helps you. It helps Amazon.
Please,
so
it
everybody
really
wins in this.
So if it's you,
do
and
yourself a favor.
You can tell family members, friends. It literally take you an extra second
it's
or
one
two
click
off of your sale. If you're going to buy at Amazon anyway, then go to AfterBuzzTV.com, see that banner, click on it, and then go make your purchases. Again, costs you nothing more, but it really helps us.
Yes.
And just to be crystal clear, we're not asking you to buy anything in particular.
No.
It's whatever you were going to get
buy everything
anyway.
in particular.
The air conditioner would be perfect, though.
Yeah.
Guys, if anyone's looking for anything.
So Peggy, she's expecting a big deal. So because she has the
oh my goodness.
She has first the Chinese food with Abraham, and that was just weird.
Wasn't that the first time he's been in the office?
Well, first time I've seen him.
He was very.
I don't think he was ever been.
You guys, why was he so uncomfortable?
I because what he talked about, we never seem to have time together, and I always have to,
never been able to see her actually working, and I think the fact
last
that
week we had that thing with them saying, we can't,
I got news for you guys.
What's that?
Mom's right.
Mom's right about
him.
Using her?
Being a douchebag.
Oh, sure, yeah, he should have.
He couldn't take the fact that he's not getting all of her attention. She's getting attention. She's comfortable. And that's why the mother, raises an eyebrow when, Peggy made a ham.
Yeah, Abraham?
Peggy made...
Which is his favorite.
Which to me says a couple of things.
Yeah.
One, why is my Peggy, who's the smartest one in my family, who's the pioneer that went out and is gotten into a man's trade and been successful, what is she doing with an Abraham making ham bologna bullshit?
You saw
right?
that line.
And he goes, it's my fave.
Exactly.
And so
her face just wrinkles right up and she goes, oh.
Because it is all about his deal. He does want his cake. And
okay. Here's why I went with it.
Yeah.
He's Jewish, so why would you be making ham?
He said it's his fave.
I know, but that's why I think she was going, well, you eat ham and you're Jewish?
It could be that, but again, I think it's both the layers.
I do too. I'm just saying.
I think to see
her.
And again, what does that say about this guy?
Yeah, well, he's not really in his phase.
She walks in an apron, holding everything with the hot plate, and it's like, okay, hold on, let me put this down.
Yeah, it was a Peggy we haven't seen before.
Yeah, it's not something you see.
And she's always tried to have
and
it
again, and again, doesn't it relate to what Emil said?
Which part?
Meaning you're better than this.
Yeah.
Isn't it the same thing?
But again, here's what Mom thinks and expects for Peggy, and the parallels made with Megan and Dad. But here's Peggy and Mom.
But I believe what she said. He's gonna wait.
Her line was he's gonna practice on you
until he gets someone to marry.
And I agree. No, I don't disagree with what Mom's saying. But the parallel I'm making is that Mom thinks Peggy should be doing something else, something more, and Peggy's trying to have this life, which is. This life here and a home life. She's trying to do it all. So she has her own aspirations. That's why there's always going to be those generational clashes.
But I think the mother would have been fine if they were married. To have the home life and the work.
I honestly
you're right,
think,
because it's Jewish.
Yeah,
Jewish.
Mom would have a problem with whomever, for whatever.
Probably right.
Because Mom will always think that Peggy should be doing something else.
More.
But I really...
Well, and after she gave up her baby in season 2.
Yeah.
The mother always disagreed with that, but then to see her really take on this role, and then all of a sudden to see her just fade into almost the wife role, you could just see her disgust in that dinner.
Dessert's very delicate. Leave it in the box.
All right, I'm gonna. Here's a poem by Charles Bukowski. There are worse things than being alone, but it often takes decades to realize this, and most often when you do, it's too late, and there's nothing worse than too late. Yeah. And for me, and speaking, the mother giving him the example of, all right, first you're going to get a cat, then after 13 years you're going to get a second cat. And so that's
13,
the life.
No, keep going, Phil. Then after 13 years you get your third cat, and then what? And then what?
Then you die.
And then you're done. No, and then you're done.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
I think what a philosophy. That was amazing. It was great. Go ahead, Phil. You were finishing up.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think she's adhering to that type of quote, and and Peggy, where she feels like she deserves love, and she's always looked at Joan as the person to look up to, and even today, like, you get dumped.
Yeah.
And so she always feels like she needs somebody in her life, and you know what? That for her may not be the case. She might not need somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's her Achilles heel. She thinks she needs to have everything. She thinks she needs this because there's something missing in herself, and she's looking externally for that instead of supplying.
I'm telling you, if they ever have a flash forward on this show, Peggy's the one that's going to be running a giant company at one point in time, and what I think you're seeing is.
But only if she gives that up, that idea that
but she's going to get bruised and battered, John, along the way. But she's a masochist, so she's going to hang in.
Yeah.
And I just know, seeing I've been around some female pioneers, and I see what they go through. And by the way, a lot of big name hosts whose names I don't want to mention. Mm-hmm. And you hear, becoming friends of the stories and what they went through and what they sometimes still go through.
Yeah.
And they're not doing it all perfectly. They're faltering. They're trying to, how do I host this show and still be a mom? How do I host a show and be a wife? How do I host a show and maintain my dignity or maintain? And it's really, really hard. Yeah. So now with her, that's what I see, because although Joan is very zen, and great with the advice, whatever. At the end of the day, Joan is just a secretary. Like, she stayed in that comfortable place. Sure, it's easy to dish out advice and whatnot, but Peggy's the one that's leaving the nest, that's leaving the comfort zone, and she's getting smacked around. Yeah. And these are the natural things. And I know it might not make any. It might not be relevant to this episode, but I feel like she's the one that's the big giant success at some point, and these are the natural things she's going to have to get battered and bruised along the way
in order to excel.
Okay, so Mom says he's going to use you for practice until he's ready for marriage. It's just harsh when she said it, but that's just like a mom that just like cut through everything.
Yeah.
But I also thought this was the time when people started living together. So and why do we need a piece of paper? So I know she's trying to convince herself of that, as you think.
You have the gap in the lifestyle from the 50s to the branch of the 60s where she's like, you can't be living in sin. She's like, well, we're living together.
But the mother did say, here's the thing, it's not so black and white where the mother's the real old guard. She says, everybody does it, just don't, why do you have to say anything?
Exactly, why you have to throw it in my face, which is the argument we get a lot these days for why do gays have to throw it in our face. It's the same argument. We've had it for generations.
I go back to the boyfriend, and him, even at the dinner, she's like, I'm hungry, which again it's all about the food in this episode.
Yeah,
it's a great metaphor device. And then him saying, I guess I can get somebody's attention. And that's his big thing is now
he can't get hers attention.
Now he's got her pinned down, and basically he is going to have his fun with her until he gets his wife.
Yeah, and how about? But okay, do you think that's all it is for him, or do you think that for him this is a big step, or do you think he's really afraid of marriage? And
I think the way he was all bratty at that Chinese food dinner, I think he's going to reveal himself to be very self-centered, and he wants.
I think at some point he's really going to want her to knock all this off.
And he's very needy, and he's going to want it to be all about him.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the line of when do you think it'll be time for you to give up this?
Your little hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. She's in red at the dinner, and then the next day in the office she's in gray. And I thought it was very sweet, the conversation with Joan. And, and it was
actually getting advice from her,
And it was
interesting. No, I think you're talking about the first one or the second conversation.
The second one.
Second conversation when she comes back in and Joan sees she doesn't have a ring on.
And she's
was kind of I think it's awfully romantic.
And she says, my husband has a piece of paper, but big deal. The piece of paper of the army is more important.
You do see the great way of how she'll expose that truth that is bothering her, but she'll still remain so cold and just very professional and guarded. Yeah. Whereas when Peggy goes to congratulate Megan later on, she's in her same character of like, congratulations, I should feel jealous, but I'm not. And as soon as Megan turns away, you can just see her face go like, oh, I should have. Like she's resentful at that point, but she's just not as good at hiding it as Joan is.
And every time even you see her smoke, it's like she's not comfortable with, can I have a cigarette? And, the last couple of episodes, like the last week they had that close-up of her smoking the cigarette, and they dissolved to the other scene. Like we're seeing more of that.
Yeah.
And we're seeing Don smoke a lot more. Did you notice now in the last?
Especially this episode with the cancer dinner.
Yes.
He was smoking quite a bit.
Yeah, he's smoking a lot more.
All right, so since we just talked about it, let's move on to the Megan and her big breakthrough with baked beans. So,
I loved the line when Peggy when they announced it, and the coworker said, "Oh, boss's wife had an idea."
Yeah, but Peggy says, "Was it any good?" Well, it was better than anything we had.
He
admitted it. So it was a big to-do.
I thought, I really thought they were going to play upon the fact that the boss sticking up for the wife and build more resentment.
Right. Yeah. But they didn't. Well, at least they didn't. They didn't hear. They might.
Because in my experience,
yeah,
when someone you care about, whether it's a girlfriend or even a best friend or whatever that's working with you, and comes up with a bad idea, usually the trolls will never give you that credit.
Exactly.
They'll always say, but
I mean, if you listen to our season 4 finale podcast, like we kind of made that prediction, so where Megan was kind of gonna trump Peggy to a certain extent. And now we're midway through the season, and so
she did what Peggy couldn't do.
Exactly, and Peggy went the other way.
And only because it goes back to last week. You're lovesick, and they're all lovesick.
Yeah.
And so her relationship too, it's kind of causing her to stumble a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, and the more she pays attention to it, the more she puts energy into it, the more she loses focus at work.
Yeah. And even for Megan, when she talks about in the pitch, and she takes it all the way to they have a colony on the moon.
Yeah.
And seeing the moon, and how symbolic was the moon to the 60s, John, right? It was huge. I mean,
sure.
The fact that we visited the moon, and the fact that it was the first time.
It was the decade of going towards the moon.
We were even able to photograph Earth, from the moon, and it represented so much of hope and going
achievement.
Forward,
exactly.
achievement.
What we could do.
And
society.
So for her to abuse that, I'm sure it wasn't.
Yeah, and
the symbolism of that wasn't
yeah,
lost.
because we were currently in the decade of going to
and
the
it was
moon.
the linchpin of her pitch, basically showing the fact that no matter what time it is, and it's a triumphant
Some things
future.
never change.
And the great line from the CEO of Heinz, it's the future. It's all I ever wanted.
Okay, now speaking to that point, what did he say last week with Peggy? He said, "Stop showing me what I asked for and give me what I want."
Right.
And finally, this week we get.
Oh, and Megan
working.
working.
That's all I've ever wanted. So there's the full resolution of
Megan
him
works
in
almost like in like a grifter mode of whispering to Don and
then,
just casually bringing it up.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
she was
man,
nicely done.
And now compare her, again. We've talked about this before, but compare her as a partner to his first wife.
Not only that, but let's use the parallel, because they made a great parallel last week with how Peggy, or was it last week, when Peggy lost the account, when she came forward and tried to be Don in the meeting, was very vocal and in his face. And how did Megan do it? Whispered in an ear. It was very, she seduced him, so to speak.
The smiles and the we weren't really going to bring it up.
Yes,
but.
exactly.
Yeah.
So she didn't try the full-on assault. No, she did the oblique approach, which is very successful in this regard.
And the fact that she bonded with the wife. And
the
wife spilled the beans.
Spilled the beans.
Sorry.
No,
I walked into that one.
I enjoyed it.
Not to mention, did you see the look on Don's face when she said, "Oh, Don loved it. We were in the kitchen and there were 3 generations in the same roof, under the same roof."
Oh yeah.
And just with Don's past, you can just kind of see that and go.
Yeah.
You just see him.
And I have to say,
hide
when we'll
just a moment,
when our company will do network pitches,
that's
exactly how I love to do it. And
is the casual
embellish and embellish, and just like she did.
Yeah.
And when that knucklehead has to open his mouth, I said, "That's Maria." Every time in a meeting, Maria will say, my girlfriend will say something.
No, it didn't happen like that.
Sticks the foot out and chirp you. Yeah.
I love the wife who said, "Can I get some more coffee?" And it's like,
no.
Yeah. Really. Shut up.
Stop it.
I know.
Oh my God!
It's like, what? Do you not hear what's going on in front of you?
Yeah.
That's not present. Come on. That was great. I mean, and all of us have been in those meetings. Like, would you
please shut up?
We're so close.
Shut up!
You don't know how tenuous this is. Oh God, that was great. So, but she hits it out of the park, and she really. I mean, I like the metaphor. Oh, we have baseball in Canada. I mean, it was. She hit a home run, which is great. So, and very forward thinking and all that stuff. So that was good to see.
The thing that sucks is this is as good as it gets.
Oh yeah, that line is a great line, and what a sad line coming from Peggy. She knows now. She's barely got her foot in the door. She's just comfortable there.
No, it's just such a masochistic
and she's
lifestyle.
done. That's it. That's never gonna get any better, except for that feeling that I almost had.
Poor Peggy. I mean, even for the coworkers to say, and I don't want to backtrack. He's too good looking for you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know. But I think something like that is just gonna, like I said, throw herself into her work. And
well, that's where I felt like that dinner almost felt like it was her showing off.
Yeah.
Abe to her coworkers for their approval, and then of course as soon as Abe left,
And it's hard because her work is now. Megan is taking her steam at work. She's no longer going to be the favorite.
Nope.
And tragic.
And not only that, but Megan's better looking, and by the way, the boss's wife. So how do I get to compete?
Oh, and Roger was great when he went into their office and said, "Oh my goodness, you two are actually working here." And just the whole idea. I mean, as soon as she said, "Please tell them it's your idea," she's still uneasy with the idea. The idea of if she succeeds, people are going to think it's just Dawn giving her the credit.
Right.
Or that they'll hate her.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's going to cause just rifts everywhere.
Yeah.
Speaking of Roger,
let's move on to Roger.
So I mean,
I thought this was a great episode for him.
awesome, and just the LSD trip.
Oh yeah, he's
his
loving
aftermath
it,
from that.
Yeah, and I was, because we saw that. There's the one thing I took away from last week's coming up episode, or coming up, whatever we call it. That okay, he's gonna milk this for a while.
Well, I loved his conversation with his ex-wife, where he just brought it up, and she said, "Well, of course you did," and then her curiosity gets the better of her, and it becomes this upper class, proper conversation about
LSD.
About LSD.
Right.
What was it like?
Yes.
Was it good? Do they recommend? Like, it was a really interesting conversation. But then, I mean, that whole experience for him is, you've seen him
mind altering.
Yeah.
And clearly was to some degree. I mean, he's certainly not being the self-pitying one that he was in the last few weeks.
No, he's more upbeat. I mean, he's still
more in charge, and he's more at ease about it.
I mean, you could just see how the banter between Megan's mother and Roger, his banter with them at the bar, where he said, I'd buy you a drink, but I think they're still free. Yeah. And just it came so easily for him that night. Like, it was. He's certainly become a changed person. I'm eager to see how much more has changed with him.
Do you think? Well, who's the guy? Famous director. I'm having a brain freeze now. He directed The Doors and Wall Street.
Oliver Stone.
Oliver Stone says
Savage is coming out this summer.
I can't wait for that.
He says flat out that the reason he is pro legalization of drugs is because it does open your brain up, and he claims that he never would have had any of the breakthroughs creatively were it not for drugs. And I remember him being on Bill Maher's show, and Bill Maher actually agreed with him. And you have to think, like, is Matt Weiner kind of making that statement here?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's what
I think he is making the statement just because one of his character is, but whether or not he actually believes it, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I think
because I'm wondering, is it
point,
really possible? Well, it seems like it's really done some good stuff for him.
Sure, clearly you can have breakthroughs. The problem comes in when you try to work under those conditions. You can't get a hell of a lot done if you're always stoned or on LSD.
Yeah, it won't work.
You might have a creative breakthrough, but you have to back it up with kind of a sober ethic.
Speaking about his ex-wife, notice how different she looked. She didn't look so much like the housewife. She looked like high society businesswoman.
She looked at first, until he said I couldn't recognize her until he said, when we were married.
Yeah, exactly.
But to see her, she looked like.
Well, I think that for many.
I thought she was working with the Cancer Society. I thought she was this bigwig that he's trying to work a client out of.
And I thought, okay, they did that for a couple of reasons. One, I'm sure because of his experience, she looks different to him. So therefore, it would be good if we would see her differently. Two, she hadn't seen him in a while, so she's going to want to look good.
Yep.
Yeah. And she knows that they broke up.
Yeah.
So there you got that too. So she's going, I'm going to remind him what he left behind.
Yeah.
So there's all that going on.
But I thought it was cool. You're paying for us after all. And that,
exactly.
And by the way, a 60s divorce is the guy's paying for everything for the rest of her life.
But a very adult conversation between the two about everything. You're still paying for it.
And she has almost that great sense of closure in that line, saying, I used to think was it I got too old for you?
Yeah, but I realized
it turns out you're
the one that got too old. Yeah. Very. I mean, I thought it was a great conversation between people, and those are the kinds of conversations you have between people who had been married very close and have now had some distance and can look at it with some objectivity and don't. I mean, they didn't have that. Seem to have a lot of anger and ill will at the moment.
Yeah.
So they could really be honest. Those are the best conversations because you can actually really have some insight into each other.
Can we talk about Sally on her date with Roger?
Oh God!
See, now I'm curious to your thought as soon as he started saying you're going to be my date, because you had reacted differently than I had, and I was curious what you thought about that.
I think she wanted to be older, and we kept seeing it, and I think she was taking it serious.
Yeah.
And he
of course wasn't.
He's a charmer.
Yes.
Right, and he's having his fun. Go get him, Tiger. And she's doing it, and what a great... that kid is going to be one hell of an actress.
Yeah, she was terrific.
She just deadpans, go get him, Tiger.
Yeah.
Keeping the straight face.
Yeah. I mean, I was a little cringing because I was cringing because I go, oh, she's going to get crestfallen here. But however this turns out, it's not going to be good for her.
I mean, I thought it was this great step because, especially the transformation in when they come home with all the dresses, and she's still in her older clothes, her child clothes, essentially.
Yes.
And then she gets changed, and all of a sudden she's an adult.
Yeah.
In the living, like everyone
trying to be.
Trying to be an adult, trying to prove that she's that she should be taken seriously. So all through the dinner, when Roger gives her the littlest bit of I guess the
attention
idea of real attention, of serious attention, she grabs onto that and it's like, this is my chance to prove that I'm more than just, a little girl.
Yeah, and here she's talking. She calls him Papa. She doesn't want to be seen as the little girl or the daughter,
Papa,
not Daddy.
I.
And the one who looks at her as something other than a child is Roger.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course she's gonna because that's what she wants, the male attention.
And then completely traumatized to see.
As soon as that happens, you just see the look on her face. She immediately sinks back into the safety of her childhood.
Yeah, and
persona.
the last line: "How's the city? Dirty."
Dirty.
She knows.
And back on the phone with Bishop.
Yeah. Originally, when that came on, we had such a perfect shot, and I thought that was going to be at the end of the dinner. I thought that was going to be the end of the episode.
At the table,
music would come up, fade out, and at the start of that little piece, a little teaser at the end with Bishop, I was really crestfallen. I'm like, how can you not end the episode on that shot?
Yeah.
And then her line is just that little joke right before the credits of, how's the city? It's dirty.
It's a great bookend. I mean, started that way, and I mean, that was terrific. Yeah, but that that shot at the dinner table, they're all there.
He also had the waiter come by, and he said, "Are you finished with that?"
Miss.
She's like,
"Yes."
Again,
Calls her Miss, like a little girl again.
Yeah, I finished with that, and takes away the drink.
Yep.
That Roger had given her, the Shirley Temple.
And so this awards dinner.
Yeah, this is the big awards dinner.
And every CEO in the world's there. Yeah. It's great. Dow Corning makes dishes and plates and napalm. And he's just bombing around like he's amazing.
Yeah, he was great.
That's GM, and you better remember all these names.
Yes, exactly.
But the worst part is when Don's like, yeah, they'll give you a desk full of awards, but they'll never hire you.
No.
Oh yes, when he tells
telling it to Don.
When he tells Don that.
Because you bit the hand that feeds you.
Yeah,
and it's true.
Basically, you turned on somebody. Why wouldn't you turn on us, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're gonna do that to them, why would we bring you into our?
They'll give you awards, but you're never gonna get help from them again.
No. So,
exactly.
And the look on his face, like he never realized it, like that could possibly be a consequence. It's like, did you not? But I thought he was really shocked by that.
He was definitely shocked.
That's his turmoil at the end of the episode. That's why he looks so
it's like, crap,
lost.
what did I do?
And are we seeing him make, as we see Megan show she's amazing, are we just seeing him kind of start to stumble?
Well, I think before that, for him, the big thing was like, am I a hypocrite? We're especially with his meeting with Roger. We're hypocrites. Why are we going there? And I think the realization is, crap, I am a hypocrite.
Yeah, and
that's why
the conversation he had with Roger is like, what does it care what I? No one. What was he saying? Was it care how I felt about it, or why did he write it? And he was thinking that nobody. What difference does it make?
Yeah.
And then he finds out at the end it made a huge difference. He had no idea. And I was surprised. I said, how could you not? This guy's usually sharp. How could you not see that? I mean, it seems kind of obvious, doesn't it?
He is, but sometimes, when everyone kisses your ass, John, that's usually you can lose that kind
objectivity.
Of mistake. Yeah.
All right. So, but the dinner looked nice, didn't it? Didn't you want to be there and win an award there?
I just can't deal with the smoking. It's my only thing about. It's the only reason why I don't really engage in too much thought of time travel.
Yeah, because of the smoking.
I can't deal with it.
Drives you crazy.
I completely
understand.
And by the way, think of the people then. You weren't even allowed to not like smoking.
Oh yeah.
They'd look at you like you had 20 heads. You just have to
exactly.
sit there and just.
How about I'm sorry to interrupt, but let's talk real quick with Julia Ormond. Does a fabulous job as Megan's mother.
She was great.
And then just a little, the conversation she had with Roger at the bar, and then of course afterwards, it's just, she was terrific.
Yeah.
I hope we see more of her. She was great.
Yeah, you wonder. And of course, we see Bobby all grown up, and so he's, we see Bishop.
Bishop, okay.
And he's half naked in the.
Yeah, what was that? What?
I just think this was a lot. This was about sex, sexual tension, love. That's what was the red, the colors.
And if we
about.
Can touch,
of course, he's in black.
Touch on Roger and Megan's mother again. Just the way that scene is portrayed. I mean, if the violence or the gore in like Breaking Bad or Walking Dead was proof enough of how far AMC, of what they allow to put on the air. I mean, that's insane to say. You never see something like that on even a wide cable release.
You know what I thought was really interesting too is how they shot that, because they were, she obviously opens the door and sees them, but they were so far away. In this big old room, very, very far away.
It was shocking, and it was, at first, you weren't sure what was going on, and then as soon as you saw it, it was undeniable what was going on.
That's not really traumatic for a kid to see at that age, right? No? What?
No, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
She was looking for
That's
her
why
keys,
they allow it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think, she won't be traumatized at all. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Especially from this guy, who she was having a relationship with.
Well, mind you, this is Sally, who... all of her past with her friend staying at the friend's house watching TV, or I mean, just this whole show, it's been very awkward with sex with certain characters. It's been.
On that note,
let's
commercial.
Let's because I need
the
a break
sexy
now.
commercial.
Yeah, exactly.
Please go to the sexy
wonderful
commercial.
break.
I need a break.
AfterBuzz TV.
AfterBuzz TV. Hi, I was once like you, a lazy, angry loner whose only joy was watching TV and surfing the net. And, like you, after I'd see one of my favorite TV shows, I'd be so excited and have so many questions that I'd actually have to talk to my douchebag coworkers about it at the water cooler. Then I discovered AfterBuzzTV.com. AfterBuzz TV produces after-show webcasts and podcasts for TV series of all kinds, like post-game wrap-up shows for all your favorite TV shows. AfterBuzz TV hosts are industry insiders who break down episodes of shows, take calls from fans, and interview cast and crew from each series, with over 60 different after-shows, from Boardwalk Empire to American Idol to Vampire Diaries to Real Housewives, and more. Now, after a night of TV, I can ignore my stupid coworkers, who I hate, and go straight to my desk and watch or listen to all my favorite AfterBuzz TV after shows, and have all the TV fan interaction I need. Thank you, AfterBuzz TV.
AfterBuzz TV. What do you want to buzz about?
All right, we are back.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, so where do we see this going?
Oh, wow, they revealed so much.
They always do. First of all, I'm going to say this right now, that Lane has to be in the next episode. We've gone 2 episodes now without any interaction with Lane.
Yeah, the last time
he's one of my favorite characters.
Pete. We haven't seen Pete very much
We
either.
haven't seen the response. We haven't seen the real reaction
the
to
fallout.
that. And he's one of my favorite characters, and he needs to come back. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that. Also, I believe just the little clips that we saw, see there might be something to do with people competing for the same client. I mean, you see Megan run in and make a phone call in a certain phone booth, and then later on you see Pete in the same phone booth.
Yeah.
Like, there has to be some kind of connection there. Of course, last week when Joan had her line, "Do you want to come in and shut the door?" I thought she was talking to Lane or Roger.
Yeah, exactly.
Not Peggy.
No.
And
so that's why I don't even. I just watch them because they're so ridiculous that you can't glean anything from them.
Exactly.
No, so it's just generic predictions.
I don't. The only thing that I have, it's not even specific, but I know they're gonna take Roger. Last week's episode was called Faraway Places. They talked about. He even mentioned this when he was talking to his former wife, that I've never been farther in this trip. He was talking about farther. They also talked about the moon. Anyway, my point is they're obviously taking on a trip. The trip just started with the LSD when he had a trip. And now they're really going to take his character to a faraway place. That's my only thing.
And Megan's on a trip as well. She's at the beginning of hers.
That's at the beginning, exactly. She's on an arc herself. And Don is on his downward, I think. He's just continuing this.
Anything for you guys?
That's it. We got anything else?
Well, tweet me at Undergaro.
There you go. Josh?
Tweet me at JJG32.
Tweet me at Angry Birds. Phil?
Are you really?
No, that's not his Twitter. And of course, you can follow us here at AfterBuzzTV.com.
Yes. Please keep your comments and your rates coming. We appreciate it so much. We thank you very much for that. We want to Ellen Butler, thank you for your comment this last week with the Howard Johnson. And anything else before we say goodnight?
Please go to Amazon through AfterBuzzTV.com. Click on that banner and buy. Keep us on the air.
And speaking of buy, we are out of here.
Well, one last thing. Dancing with the Stars. I know many of you probably love dancing. So help support us by showing love to Maria. Just, you can text and vote for her that way on ABC's Dancing with the Stars. keep her there so we can stay here.
Yes.
All right, thanks very much for listening.
Bye.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.